Hello, I'm Karen from theneedlefelter.com. Welcome back to my FAQ series. Today we're tackling the question, how do I build a strong core wool base for my sculptures? Everything I use in this video will be listed in my blog post and in the pinned comment below. Let's get started. A solid core is everything for a long-lasting sculpture. Think of it like the steel beam of your needle felting project. So we need to add some strong structural support to our lion's body. For the lion's core base, I'm starting with about a 12-inch piece of core wool roving. My core wool is about 2.5 inches wide. So first I'm going to divide this in half vertically. I'll set one half aside for later. We're going to divide the remaining half in half vertically again, so we have 2 quarters. These are each about 3/4 of an inch or so wide. I'm going to take my first one and draft the wool out a bit into a ribbon by gently stretching it out. If it breaks, don't worry, you can still use it. We're just making it a little thinner to make it easier to work with. That leaves me with a strip about 16 inches long. We're going to start by wrapping the wool around the body by just holding the wool with my finger on top of the shoulder and then wrap around the body once just to anchor the wool. Now wrap around the body one more time, but this time we're going to come up between the legs and over the left shoulder. Then straighten out your wool ribbon, come around the neck, over the right shoulder. So I'm coming like this, over the right shoulder, between the legs, and then around the body. This gives you an X shape between the legs. Let's repeat this one more time. We're going to go around the body, up between the legs, over the left shoulder. Kind of reposition your ribbon so it's nice and flat. Go around the neck, over the right shoulder, between the legs, and then around the body. So now we've made our X between the legs twice, and we're going to wrap the rest of the wool around the body. Oops, I knocked my armature out of place. Just going to continue wrapping down the body. And then just felt your end in place. And your armature should look like this. Now we're ready to wrap the back of the body. So I'm going to draft out my second piece of core wool. And this time I'm going to start right in front of the back legs. And wrap it around the body once or twice to anchor it. I'm going to go twice. Then wrap the wool, let me move my mat out of place. Then wrap the wool up between the back legs and angle it to the left. Kind of hold it in place with your finger. You can kind of place your finger on the hip to hold it in place. If you're having trouble with this, just hang tight and I'll give you an alternate way to do this in just a minute. But if you can hold it in place, wrap the wool all the way around the body one time, and that will secure that wrap. This time, instead of coming up between the legs, we're going to go down between the legs. So we'll hold it on the right hip and then place the wool between the legs and then up around the body. So now we have sort of an X shape on this end. So let me show you an alternate if you have trouble holding it. Anchor the wool, then wrap up between the legs, over that left hip, And this time, instead of holding it, if that's difficult, you can just kind of lightly needle felt that in place. I'm just using a 38 star needle to just kind of tack that in place. Just be careful of the wire. That way you don't have to hold it. Then wrap it around the body once. And then we're going to tack it in place right over that right hip. You have to watch the wire. The wire's kind of right there on that hip. So just kind of tack around it. That'll hold the wool in place for you. Then go over that right hip, between the legs, and then back around the body. So I'm going to draft my wool out just a little bit. Mine's a little bit thick on the end here. And then repeat this wrap one more time. So I'm going to go up, over the left hip, hold that wool there, go around the body, and then come down over the right hip, between the legs, and then wrap the rest of the wool down the body. And I'll tack that in place. Now I've got the front and the back hips secured. I want to add a little more wool to the body. Take that other half of the core wool roving and let's quarter that. Just divide it right down the middle. And draft it out a little bit. I'm going to add some more here. Just wrap it around, anchor it in place, and then wrap down the body. I think that's good enough. I'm going to tear off that extra because I don't think I need it. I don't want to make it too big. So let me measure the width of the body before we start felting. So my body right now, it's about an inch across. If you need to tear off a piece of wool and add a little more thickness, go ahead and do that. Mine feels a little thin right here, so I'm going to use this little scrap of core wool I had and just add that in right there. Just to try and get it a little more even. Tack that in place. That feels a little better. It feels more even. Sometimes the way it feels is different from the way it looks. Now that we have the body wrapped, let's spend some time felting this down to create our steel beam. We want the core wool to compress in toward the center of the body, and we also need to be careful not to hit the wire or distort the armature. I'm using a 36 gauge needle for this, but a 38 will work too. The 36 is just a coarser needle, so it's a little bit faster, but both work just fine. So we want to sort of angle our needle in toward the center, being mindful of the needle, being mindful of the wire. I try to angle it just to the side of the wire, so I know my wire is right in here. So I'm angling my needle just to the side of that. So I'm still going in toward the middle, but angling toward the side of the wire. The needle doesn't need to go all the way through to the other side when you're felting, so I'm not going so deep that I'm pushing it all the way through. I'm really just pushing it in toward the middle. It won't hurt anything if it does go all the way through, but we're really trying to just compress this wool down toward the center. And I want to compress around the hips, So again, just being careful to stay away from that needle, or I'm sorry, the wire, to stay away from the wire. It can be a little tricky around the shoulders and the hips just because of the extra wire there, but just take your time. Keep turning and felting. Let's get some of this wool around the shoulders and neck compressed. Also find if you felt a little slower when you do this, if you do bump the wire, it's not as big of a deal. It won't snap your needle. If you're going really fast and felting hard, that's kind of when you're more likely to snap your needle. So when you're working around an armature, it makes sense just to take your time and enjoy the process. It's kind of nice to see it start to compress down. And it doesn't take too long. See results pretty quickly. So you can see it's already starting to shape up. We want to felt this fairly firm, and I know firmly felted is a term you hear a lot. I like to think of something as firmly felted when it has compressed down enough that the surface is very stable but still has a little give. Let me show you my the lion that I'm using as sort of my test lion. He has a little scarf so I can tell the two apart. I'm making two lions, one for the video and one that I make ahead of time. So this one is firmly felted. If I press on him, I can press in a little, but there's not a whole lot of give. Where on this one, I can press down quite a bit. There's a lot of sort of fluffiness or air still in there. Sarah Renzulli of Serafina Fiber Art calls this feeling kind of like pressing on a fresh bagel. Some people say it should feel like your hand when you flex your thumb and you press this sort of muscular area under the base of your thumb. I think another good example is that it kind of feels like pressing on a pool noodle. So if I press on this pool noodle, let me see if I can angle it up. You can see it's got some give and I can bend it, but it's still fairly firm. So I just want to continue felting this body down. If the 36 starts giving me resistance where it feels like it just won't go in, that's a good sign. That means your wool is firming up. And then what you can do is switch to the 38. So when you start getting resistance from the 36, it's really just telling you it's time to switch needles. To get to that firmly felted degree of firmness, I felted my lion's body for a good 10 to 15 minutes off camera. The body doesn't have to be a perfectly smooth surface because we're going to cover it up. It's more important that it is firm than smooth. And just for reference, remember the body was about an inch wide when we started. Mine's measuring about 3/4 of an inch. Almost a little less than that by the stomach and the back, but that's fine. Once your steel beam of core wool feels right, give the lion's back and legs a final check against the pattern. My body tends to arch upward as I work, so just bend it. That actually helped make the legs go right into place. Just sort of make sure that he's still lined up vertically also. My head got turned a little bit. Before I call this done, I also want to check it against the top view. I want to make sure that it's not too wide. I don't want it wider than the shoulders or the hips. So if I place my lion down there, you can see it fits in just fine. And now that we have this very firm structure in the middle, your lion should stand pretty securely. And that's how you build a rock solid base for your core wool. I know it seems a little time consuming, but this step will make all the difference as we continue working on our lion. That's it for this FAQ. I hope you found it helpful and it inspires you to felt something. And if you don't felt, make something. See you next time.